I want to get your thoughts on what's been exposed out of Disney. A senior figure has let it slip that the company won't hire a white male.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male in this role. As far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male, and that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
What's your reaction to this? Were you surprised?
Well, I wish I could say I was surprised. I unfortunately wasn't, but I certainly was horrified. Not only is this illegal and obviously immoral, it's wrong to discriminate against people because of their immutable characteristics in any direction, right? Whether it's the traditional discrimination or this new discrimination being done in the name of progress or wokeness or whatever, it's wrong. And it's actually also condescending and insulting to the minorities who are put in roles, because many of them are probably perfectly capable of getting the job on their own merits, but instead they're being put in as tokens. And I think that's really insulting. And ultimately, look, I think most Americans want to live in an America like MLK Jr. famously talked about, right? Where people are judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. This kind of stuff, even if it's being done in the name of racial justice, doesn't take us closer to that. It reinforces the fact of race as a meaningful division between us and fuels intergroup resentment. But unfortunately, it's somewhat common. I mean, surveys of hiring managers show a alarming percentage think that this kind of DEI approach that is in many cases anti-white male and discriminatory in different ways is something, it's not just one instance at Disney. It's unfortunately becoming something of a common practice in businesses run by woke ideologues.
Well, it's good to see that this is actually being leaked and being exposed, because look, I'm all for equality. I want every female to have the exact same rights as every male, but I don't believe that white men should be discriminated against, and this is what we're seeing, and it's quite concerning that companies are jumping on the bandwagon because it's woke, and it's quite dangerous. Look, I want to get your thoughts on Julian Assange. He spent his first night in Australia as a free man, bringing his 14-year legal ordeal to an end. The WikiLeaks founder pleaded guilty to one charge of conspiracy and was sentenced to the time he'd already served in prison. What's the reaction been to this in the United States?
Well, it's really divided opinion, but I think on one hand, you have people who look at the fact that he exposed, unequivocally, he exposed U.S. war crimes that the government covered up, that nobody was ever held accountable for. And then you see this guy who some consider a journalist, some do not consider a serious journalist, but who published and revealed this information, and I will say did so in a reckless and haphazard way in many instances, right? He didn't take the kind of care that you see many journalists take to redact sources' names, to preserve intelligence. He just dumped it all out there. But there's also, so I can see the criticism of that. However, he's also been prosecuted under a law, the Espionage Act, that many First Amendment advocates believe is an unconstitutional law and should be challenged in court. And he spent years of his life in various forms of prison or purgatory for revealing war crimes where people were killed, where no one was ever actually held accountable for those. That has always struck a lot of Americans as a perverse injustice. And I can see why, even if Julian Assange is hardly, a perfect stand-up guy or a heroic figure in my books.
Based Politics podcast host Brad Polumbo, great to have you on Power Hour. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.